Hey guys, so we're in my hotel room here in Tokyo, Japan, and we are doing the beauty product type shots for the GFX 100 megapixel monster right here. So we had to rig this together with a Lume Cube on my floor stand, and then we went over to this guy, which is my 1x1.3 Pro Photo with an LED panel just resting on top of it on my Matthews arm and stand. We were gonna actually use this umbrella in an adapter, but light was spilling everywhere and showing the background, which wasn't cool. We really wanted to localize that camera, make the frame really about the product and the details. So it worked out pretty well. And as you can see, there's a nice t-shirt right there as our floor for the GFX. We're gonna go check the footage out. Let's go on to the next. I consolidated everything down into one bag that's gear-wise, and I got the GFX 100 right here and a bag full of grip. 3 lights, this camera, a trigger, and a bunch of boxes and grip and stuff. So this is how this is how I packed to get tattooed. So then we got into Horimitsu's tattoo shop, and I just knew this was my guy after all the research I did, that he's the apprentice of the famous Horitoshi. And I always wanted Tabori, which is hand poke tattoo. And if I'm ever gonna get that done, how could I not get it done while I'm in Tokyo?
I'm gonna change the tail. Put it in here. Yeah, it's okay.
I just knew this was the place that had the right vibe. Everything was very somber, meek colors. And he's doing a project of 1,000 tigers on 1,000 people. And I always wanted a tiger on me because my father always called me Tiger growing up, from the red hair and always growling at people when they picked me up because I was antisocial even as a child. It definitely felt like his space, all his sketches, all the line work on the tracing paper on the wall. It just really got me excited to document what was about to happen. As soon as I was on that table, got that Fuji in hand, I had the 45mm, and I was just using the available light to shoot however I could from the one angle I got. I couldn't move around, I couldn't really change my angles. I had to deal with just the light sources that were there, and the lens that I had was as wide as I could go with the 45mm on this GFX 100. Being so close, I was worried about minimum focusing distance. Could I even be this close and get something sharp? How could I variate these shots? Could I keep getting the same shot and making it look somewhat interesting? Do I worry about getting him in focus? Do I worry about the needle getting in focus? What am I really trying to document? And I'd made a choice of going with a closed down aperture between f8 and f16 just because I didn't want to think about what was going to be the shallow depth of field. I wanted to see his face looking serious and really in the game. I wanted to see the needle at work. I wanted to see how his hands were gestured, all of that. This camera is 102 megapixels, but it's stabilized. I was able to do a slow shutter, which meant I could show the motion of the Tabori needle going back and forth with the motion of his actual hand wrist while keeping his face stable and really tack sharp, which was really key for me. Because the light sources were so mixed and we were talking about LEDs and fluorescence and all sorts of white balance issues, I really was quick to go into Acros and the black and white profile. It wasn't so much about the color at that point, but when I did go into color, I was really gravitating to the classic chrome profile because it had such a subdued color and it felt very of the moment. Each RAW file was 210 megabytes. The JPEGs were 40 to 50 megabytes. So we're talking about 250 to almost 300 megabytes every shot, just filling up this card really fast. As far as ergonomics go, this really did feel like a flagship DSLR. I was holding off my fingertips with a flip screen while I'm getting tattooed in an effort to get different angles while I'm stuck literally to a table. When I'm talking to him, I said, I really need to get a portrait of this guy. This has to happen. And he actually agreed to it. I was so psyched for it. He said the best line ever. I said, thank you so much for doing this. He said, of course, it's an experience, but I have about 15 minutes before my next appointment. I drop a stand, I get an arm on it, get an A1, put a small box on it, get another stand in place, and just put the soft bounce on as a fill, and that was about all I had time to set up. I was trying to get as much as I could with what I had set up because there was no time. I'd rather get what I could with what was there than to burn up time trying to set up something else. The first shot that I took, I made sure to swing all the lights that he had on the background itself to light up all the textures of that tracing paper with all the sketches he had, and then I started lighting him. I didn't want to have the separation of him being too much of a bokeh. I needed people to realize those were sketches behind him. If they were completely out of focus and totally overly blurred out, I'm not sure you would have got what I was going for there, because I need you to see this portrait and get what was going on there without me explaining it to you. Then I started using lighting ratios to really separate him. I darkened that background more and more. I was using my shutter speed to really change what was going on back there while keeping my f-stop where I needed it to be for the lights that I set up for just him. The autofocus is pretty fast. I was actually surprised. Using a medium format system in the past, they haven't been as fast as this, and it's pretty accurate after looking back at the files. The battery life was phenomenal. I barely saw it even shave down while we were shooting throughout the day. I was able to get through 228 gig cards, no issues on battery life. Moving the camera around in my hand, I went into the vertical grip, and it wasn't as optimal as the straight up horizontal grip. So if you're into vertical grips, this might be a little bit of a factor for you. It was really light for the system that it is. It actually felt lighter than some flagship DSLRs that I've held. And I want to thank Fujifilm for trusting me with this camera. I never thought I'd be using a medium format system in such a way in low light settings, 102 megapixels, stabilized sensor, allow me to do things and capture things I never did before. Hit me with a comment down below. Remember to hit like, share this video around, and subscribe. And don't forget, hit the bell so you can keep getting videos like this when they come out. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you next time.